after a calc test calc 2, I just didn't do well at all. And I went back to my room and just like, something has to change. I had a little bit of an anxiety attack, even just like, I was walking around my room just like, trying to figure out how I'm going to fix everything. And at that point, it was just like, you guys need to take a step back. This isn't healthy. This isn't productive for you. So at that point, I was like, I'm going to take a year off school. Or maybe go part-time, work a little bit, do some other things for a little bit to kind of refocus. Is this what I even want to do? Is it, I'd never tackled that question as much. I'd always just picked engineering. I was always good at it, and it looked fun, and it is, and I do enjoy it. But I needed time to decide that. And then it didn't take long after deciding to take a year off to realize that this was the perfect time and that the hike would be the perfect thing for me. I had to sit down, like, what backpacking gear do I have? What do I need? And what needs to be replaced? Because what I usually take on trips isn't going to cut a 6-month trip. It's worth spending the money to get the nice gear for something like that. It's going to last longer. It's going to weigh less. So I just had to look at prioritizing what I could buy and what I could use that I had, and trying to figure out again where the money was coming in. And a lot of stuff I didn't buy until right near the end, until I had a more solid idea of what kind of budget I was going to have. There's a plaque there designating the start of the trail, and so we walked back, touched the plaque, took some pictures, and then back to the parking lot, and I was on my way. It was surreal, for sure.
Once you get to a certain point, it's enjoyable. If you can stick with it for about 30 days, the rest of it's cake, because it's there's going to be ups and downs. You get wet and you're tired and your feet hurt and that kind of thing, but camaraderie is probably the big thing. And I always started off as a solo hiker. I didn't have anybody hiking with me or anything, but running into the other thru hikers, it's that's what made it fun.
I'm walking on this ridge, and the wind gusts are up to 60, 70 miles an hour. And I'm just kind of like you're hopping between rocks basically at this point, just following the cairns or rock stacks that mark the trail. And so you'll go to step on this one, a gust hits and blows you, like turns your pack, and you're like, oh, I guess I'm stepping there now. Let's try not to twist my ankle. And it was getting dark, and I'm just kind of sloping on this ridge, kind of keep ducking over each side of it. And I'd get up and I'd see the sun just a little bit lower, and I'd get to the other side and couldn't see it for a little while, and then get back up to the top, and you could see it was just a little bit. And so I love hiking at that time of day. It's so peaceful and serene. Like throughout the whole trail, like I can think back to golden hour, when that last hour of sunlight, when it's low in the sky and the shadows are cast long, and that was just my favorite point of the day to be hiking. And so that was cool to finish out the presidential range, and at such a beautiful point of day, and just to see it very slowly dip behind some clouds and then the horizon.
I guess you'll call it old age more than anything else. I spent a lot of time in the military and training police officers and things, and teaching martial arts, and my neck vertebrae just basically gave out on me, and a lot of pain involved. And then so they said I had to get them replaced. So that's what I did. I had 3 of my vertebrae in my neck replaced, and they said I got to get some physical therapy. So I said, well, how about the mountains and hiking? And they're like, yeah, that's pretty intense physical therapy.
All right, here we are in the Great Smoky Mountains. So first we'll overlook. We're able to see the fog in the valley and the clouds, and it's actually really cool. It's smoky, very smoky. I see why they call them the Smoky Mountains. We're on some little rock outcropping. I think there's supposed to be some cool rock feature, but we was very much decided it was a candy break. But yeah, so it's a very rainy, sucky day. It's gotten a little better last probably hour, but my boots are puddles, and everything we're walking in is a puddle. So that's what we're doing. We probably covered 3 miles, 4 miles, I'd think, at least.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we'll go with that. So we got a few or 6 or something like that. There's actually an interesting story about the hunger time. I got stuck behind a river that I was supposed to cross in Maine for 2 days. and town was only like 11 miles away. I was supposed to get into town. I had half a day's of food. I had, when you're used to eating 6,000 calories a day, when all you have left is a tuna packet, half a thing of instant potatoes, and a few Cliff Bars, like, it sucks. And we ended up getting stuck for 2 days because we got 10 inches of rain overnight. It was like the most rain they've ever had in one point, and the river rose by feet. What would have been an easy crossing, just kind of maybe up to my shin or something, was now churning and raging, and it was chest deep, waist to chest deep. And I tried crossing. There was a rope stretched across that uses as a guide, so you can help get something to steady yourself. And I was holding on to it, and the further I got in the river, the further I got pulled down to the point where I had the rope so taut. And I tried to take one more step to the side, and my foot just kept getting kicked, and I couldn't get a footing just because it kept getting swept away. And at that point, I was like, yeah, I'm going to have to go back. And it was 49 hours from the time I got there to the time I was able to cross it.
Got up to about the midway point, right at the what's it called? Pine Grove Furnace, I think it's called, in Pennsylvania, where you do the half-gallon challenge, and got off and got some neck surgery done, and now I'm coming back out for a little 10-day jaunt to get my legs back and then pick it back up in Pennsylvania.
When I finished, my list of injuries included patellar tendonitis in both knees, IT band syndrome in both knees and upper legs. I had a stress fracture in my right foot in the second metatarsal. So, and then some hip problems too. My body had taken that wear over time. There was always these moments of I am in so much pain all the time. Why am I putting myself through this? And then you get to the top of the next mountain and you're like, oh, okay, this is why. There's a saying on the trail, you do 20% of the work in the first 80% of the trail. So meaning that the end is a lot harder. And so you get to halfway point, and I challenged myself, and it was hard and difficult, and I'd been making decent pace, kind of right where I wanted to be, and but we'd all been warned about the north, and once you get to Vermont and on, how hard it was. I could hear the wind kind of easing, and the sun had just peaked over that side of the mountain. And I packed my bag up and looked, and there was a couple people starting to climb, and they'd gone further than I'd seen anyone go yet, really. And so I threw everything in my bag and, just ran up the side of that mountain as fast as I could go. And just, everything was rushing through my head at that point. And you get to, it's called the tablelands. It's kind of like the plateau. It's a little bit of a plateau on top. And it's just flat and a huge expanse, and you can see a couple mountains around you, and it's sunny, it's bright, and I was getting closer and closer, and I walked up to it and, laid my hand on that battered piece of wood and lost it. It was, it was the happiest and most... It was just hard to explain the feeling, but everything flashed back at that point. It just the whole trail went in reverse back to touching the Plaquette Springer, and it was such a surreal moment, and it's not something I'll probably be able to top or come close to very often.
So once you get to the end, how do you think you're going to feel?
Yeah, like starting over again, probably.